Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12:05 already, so we can start the session proper. My name is Omotayo Akinwumi. I'm the Business Support Officer for the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Um, you're welcome to today's session, and can we all just, introduce ourselves in the chat box? Introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're joining us from, where you're partaking of this session from. Um, I can't see anyone typing. Please, can we try and engage? Let me know where you're joining this session from, and let's try to network in the chat box. Let us know your name, what you do, or what business you run, and where you're joining the session from. Okay, so while we wait for people to engage in the chat box, like I said earlier, my name is Omotayo Akinwumi. I'm the Business Support Officer for the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. And here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, what Oh, thank you, Tamara. I can see Tamara is joining us from Lagos. So, Tamara, do you mind dropping what you do in the chat box also? You never can tell. You can have other business owners that you have an opportunity to network with in the chat box. So welcome, Tamara. Thank you for joining us on today's session. So here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, what we do is we provide access to finance and also capacity building opportunities for business owners here in Lagos State. So if you're a resident of Lagos and you run a business, oh, Tamara, welcome. You're a lawyer. Nice. It's good to have you here. Welcome to our session today. Um, so here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, we provide access to finance, and we also provide capacity building opportunities for business owners here in Lagos State. So under our access to finance, we provide loan facilities to business owners in Lagos State. Welcome, Mr. Momo. Welcome, Mr. Ariyibi. So here at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, we provide access to finance, like I said earlier. So we provide loan facilities to business owners in Lagos State. Our loans are in three categories. We have the MES, we have the ME, and then we have the SME. So under the ME and the ME, under the SME, if your business is registered, if you have your CAC and your CAC is at least a year old, you can have access to at least from 501,000 to 5 million naira. Then if your business is you've been running your business for a year, but it's not yet registered, you can have access to 50,000 to 500,000. So if you're within this loan category and you'd like to have access to our loans, you can, you know, walk into any local government close to you. Our officers there will attend to you. Presently, our local portals are closed, but they'll be open very soon. So for you to know once they're open, so you don't miss out on applying for our loans, you can, like I said earlier, follow us on all social media platforms. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we are on LinkedIn. Follow us on all of the social media platforms. Turn on your post notifications so that when opportunities arise here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, you don't miss out on any one of them. We also have capacity building opportunities here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Currently, under the capacity building, we have our advisory sessions, such as this one that you're partaking in today. We have our advisory sessions, which have the legal advisory, the financial advisory, the HR advisory session. We have our risk advisory session and our marketing advisory session. Then we have our master classes, and we also have our webinars. We also give access to market opportunities to business owners in Lagos State. We also provide so we are currently also running a program, which is the MSME Bootcamp. This program was designed to help equip small and medium scale businesses with the necessary skills and knowledge that they need to help put the right structures to their business. So you get to learn a lot in the at this MSME bootcamp. So currently we are at Lagos Mainland and we will be having our last two cohorts. The one for June will be in Epe. So if you're in Epe and its environs and you'd like to partake, you can just go to our social media platform. We have our link, the link to apply. I'll be dropping also the link to apply for the MSME bootcamp in the chat box. And so you can click on the link, apply if you're in Ekwe and its environs. And in July, we'll be in Ikorodu. So if you're in Ikorodu, if you're in Ekwe, you can get ready to join us for our MSME bootcamp at Ikorodu and at Ekwe. We promise you to be a packed, it's a 1 month program where you get to learn a lot. We'll be having pre-physical classes also at this MSME bootcamp. So you get to learn a lot that would help you put the right structure to your business. We also have our employability unit here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. They run a training program for those within the ages of 18 to 35. So if you're within the age of 18 to 35, or you have someone within that age bracket that would like to acquire a skill, ranging but not limited to construction, fashion, beauty, the beauty space, and all of this fashion and all of these types of training, and you have people that would like to partake of it. This is where Lagos Employability comes in. So you can apply for all of these programs. We also have a Lagos Innovates unit. So if you know you are in the tech space, you have burning tech ideas, this is where our Lagos Innovate team comes in to help assist in that area. So welcome everyone once again to today's session. Like I said earlier, today promises to be a very packed session. You're a business owner, you'd like to know the legal side of business and what it will entail. This is what so this is what it will entail. So just sit back, get ready as we start this session and we go on so, Amametu, I can see that you're asking about Etiosa. Okay, so we just concluded that of Etiosa last month. Yes, we did Ibejuleki and those at Etiosa last month. So we also had promos for it, but you know, if I'm not mistaken, I should think Etiosa should be close to Epe also. So if you'd like to partake of the one in Epe, I think that also would be an option that you might like to consider. So I'll be dropping the link to register for the MSME bootcamp in the chat box right now. So while I drop that, I would like to introduce our facilitator for today. Daria Lunge, I can see you're asking for Ikeja and Agege. We had one okay, so we'll be coming to Agege soon, but for now, the last two cohorts that we have left are for Epe and for Ikorodu. But we'll be coming to Ikeja and we'll be coming to Agege. So just follow us on all our social media platforms so you don't miss out on when we'll be coming to the area close to you. So I'll be introducing to us our facilitator for today. So we have a facilitator from one of our partners, Templars. Her name is Olivia. So Olivia is an associate in the corporate and commercial law practice group at the leading Nigerian law firm Templars. She routinely provides comprehensive corporate advisory services to a diverse range of clients, including those in the FMCG, the manufacturing, technology, and hospitality sectors, on business establishment and legal entity selection in Nigeria. So Olivia has a deep understanding of the regulatory landscape, helping clients navigate complex frameworks and providing insights essential for the operational success. Our expertise encompasses, amongst others, negotiating, reviewing, and drafting agreements, ensuring regulatory compliance, managing relationship with regulatory bodies, and providing general legal advisory on attendant issues rising from day-to-day operations of businesses. So Olivia's professional affiliations include the membership of the Nigerian Bar Association and the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. So can we, with all excitement, welcome our facilitator even as she takes up our session. Please, can we show our excitement in the chat box? So Olivia, please, you can start off the session. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Omotayo, for that warm welcome. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's legal advisory session. So I will be facilitating the presentation for today. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see. Please let me know when you can see it. Okay, please, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Like I said earlier, I'll be facilitating the legal advisory session today. And what we'll be discussing today is on business and compliance, best practices, and what you need to know. So please, can you confirm that you can still see my screen and you can hear me?
Yes, we can see your screen and we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So this just went up. All right, while I get this back up, anyways. So yes, we'll be discussing business and compliance, best practices, and what you need to know. So whether you're running a small shop, a digital brand, or a fast-growing company, it's important that you understand um, what regulatory compliance is all about and how it's essential to protecting your business. And how it's essential to protecting your business and how this can help you unlock growth opportunities. So in the course of this presentation, we are going to, sorry? Okay. So in the course of this presentation, we are going to go through, so we're going to start with the introduction. I'm going to take you through what regulatory compliance is all about and why it matters to your business, key compliance areas for businesses in Nigeria, best practices for staying compliant, why compliance matters, benefits for your business, the consequences of non-compliance. Then we'll conclude and then we'll start the Q&A session. So please take notes like during the course of the presentation so that we can have a very engaging session. So starting and running a business in Nigeria can be rewarding, but it also comes with significant responsibilities. And one of the most important but often overlooked aspect of running a business is compliance. So business compliance simply means following the laws, regulations, and policies that govern how your business operates. And this applies to every type of business. So whether it's a small tailoring shop or it's a big e-commerce brand, regulatory compliance is critical to operating legally and sustainably. Especially in today's climate where there's a heightened regulatory oversight and increasing penalties for violations. Understanding and implementing compliance strategies is essential. It helps uphold your business's integrity and offers a competitive edge in the market. So In this presentation, we're basically going to outline what every entrepreneur and business owner in Nigeria needs to know about compliance, its benefits, and some practical steps that you can start implementing now to ensure that your business stays compliant. So now let's start with the basics. What is regulatory compliance and why does it matter? In simple terms, regulatory compliance is, following or it's following the is basically adhering to the rules and regulations that conduct govern or your business or in whatever sector you may be working in. So it's a fundamental aspect of business operations, and it ensures that organizations adhere to the laws and regulations established by governing authorities. Now, these laws and regulations are gotten from laws that have been passed by agencies, the CAC, that's the Corporate Affairs Commission, the FIRS, and like the NAFDAC for sector specific businesses. So the laws that will govern your business would be determined by the nature of business you carry and then what sector you operate in. So these rules and regulations are in place to ensure that businesses what's it called businesses operate ethically. So you conduct your business in an ethical manner, and they are there to protect stakeholders, so your consumers, your investors. They prevent harmful or exploitative practices, and then they promote fairness and transparency in the marketplace. For instance, now you have the labor laws that protect employees from unsafe work conditions, and then you have consumer protection laws that ensure that customers are treated fairly and are not taken advantage of by businesses. So as your business grows and expands, so also with the scope and complexity of, of the regulations that you must comply with would also increase, right? So why is regulatory compliance important? Why do I need to comply? So first off, it shields your business from fines, penalties, and shutdowns. It builds trust with investors, your partners, and customers. And then it also helps you attract funding for your business and present growth opportunities for you. And it also enhances your business reputation. Now, key compliance areas for businesses in Nigeria. So I am going to categorize this into like three broad sections. So we're first going to go through, general regulations, and then you have the sector-specific regulations, and then you have foreign participation regulations. So I'm just going to categorize this into three broad groups. Now, the general regulations, these are the regulations that you have to comply with, like all businesses in Nigeria have to, comply with, irrespective of the sector or the size of your business, right? So the first and most important is registration with the CAC. That's the Corporate Affairs Commission. It is the first regulatory requirement that every business or company seeking to operate legally in Nigeria must comply with, right? It's so before you start any business, you have to register with the CAC, either as a company or a business name or an LLP, that's a limited liability partnership. There are so many forms that your business can take. So depending on the structure and what you want to do, right, that will help you determine the appropriate business form to take, right? And it's important to note that it's a criminal offense for you to carry on business. That's for any entity, whether a company, a limited liability partnership, a limited partnership, or a business name, to carry on business in Nigeria without proper registration under the Act. Recently, we've seen the CAC issue, public notices, reinforcing this position and, letting the public know that if you're carrying on business and you're not registered with the CAC, they are going to now start implementing, sanctions against businesses or entities that provide business that carry on business without first registering with the CAC. Another compliance regulation that you need to be aware of is maintaining your statutory books, and then documents retention. So under the Companies and Allied Matters Act, which is the act that governs, the operations of companies and businesses in Nigeria, right? There are certain registers that and books that you have to maintain, right? So the first, you have the register of members, the register of directors, register of secretaries, charges, debenture holders, director shareholdings, your minute books, and your accounting records. These are registers and books that you're required to maintain, as a company. And the it's important to note that all documents required to be kept by a company in accordance with the CAMA are to be kept in soft copies for 6 years from the date of storage. So at least 6 years from when those entries or when those documents are recorded or stored, you're supposed to maintain them for at least 6 years in soft copy. So moving on, we have filing of annual returns, right? So an annual return is a yearly statement by an active registered business name or company, which is meant to keep the CAC, that's the Corporate Affairs Commission, updated about the company's activities and its financial position. So for newly incorporated companies, you're given the grace, the first 18 months, that's the grace period. You're not required to file the annual returns within the first 18 months. And then for business names, it's you have a grace period of 12 months. And then after that, you have to, file your annual returns yearly. So for business names, you're required to file this annual returns not later than 30th of June every year. So before the 30th of June, you must have filed your annual returns. And then if you're a company, you are supposed to file it within 42 days after your annual general meeting, which you're supposed to have every year. And it's important to note that, failure to file your annual returns as at when due attracts a penalty of 5,000 naira for each year of default. And then if you consecutively fail to file your annual returns for a period of 10 years, the CAC would strike off your name from the CAC's register. And we have seen them do that, in recent times. Filing of business changes. So as your business, your business, as you grow, changes that are made internally, there are a lot of them that you're required to, notify the CAC of when you make these changes. Like if you change your registered address, you're required to notify the CAC, that's for a company, you're required to notify the CAC within 14 days. If you change the directors in your company, you're also required to notify the CAC within 14 days. So there are like specific timelines within which you're supposed to notify the CAC of changes that you make in your business structure. And then this changes or this notification is done, by way of a filing that you have to submit on the CAC's online portal, right? Another key compliance area is, data protection. So if you are a business entity and you collect or process personal data of, people, so of your customers, your employees, like whoever, any individual, right? You're required to obtain consent from them before, processing this information, or, you have to identify a legal basis for processing this information. You also have the duty of care to ensure that the personal data of, data subjects in your care are protected. So you're required to develop security measures to protect them, right? So moving on, we'll move on to your tax obligations, right? This is another key compliance area that you have to, comply with. So it's, filing your tax returns to the FRS or, the respective states tax office. So
Okay, sorry,
yeah.
sorry, Lydia. Sorry for the interruption. So I can see that someone is saying that they can hear clearly. So please can you confirm in the chat box? Please can you hear Olivia?
So can you hear me? Is this clear?
Is she clear enough? Please, we need your feedback in the chat box. Okay, yes. Okay. Okay.
All right.
They said they can hear you. So please you
Okay.
can continue.
All right. Thank you. So the general taxes that you need to be aware of. So as a company, is your CIT. That's the company's income tax. And then it's the rate for calculating your CIT. That's 20% for medium companies. Now, a medium company is a company whose gross turnover is greater than 25 million, but less than 100 million. While small companies, which are companies with a gross turnover of 25 million or less, are exempt from paying CIT. You're required to file your annual tax return, that's your CIT, within 6 months of the company's accounting year end. But if you're a new company, you can file this within 18 months from the date of incorporation or 6 months after the end of its first accounting period, whichever is earlier. Then we have the capital gains tax. This tax is you only pay this tax when you make a a gain on a transaction, so to say, right? So it's chargeable on the capital gains you accrue from making a disposal of assets such as shares, buildings, etc. So when you have a transaction, maybe you sell shares or a building, the gain that you get on that transaction, you're required to pay a certain percentage as tax, right? Um, it applies to payments exceeding 10 million naira made to employees as compensation for loss of employment. And however, there are like some exceptions on the applicability of CGT, that's the capital gains tax. It will not apply on gains from the disposal of a Nigerian company's shares where the disposal proceeds are less than 100 million in any 12 consecutive months, or to the extent that proceeds are reinvested in acquiring shares in a Nigerian company within the same year of assessment. Um, we also have the personal income tax, which is the PIT. So this is payable by self-employed individuals. They're required to file personal income tax on or before the 31st of March of the year of assessment. So basically, 31st of March every year, right? You're supposed to file your PIT. And the is based on the income tax, rather, is based on the annual income of the individual for the preceding year. So if you're filing your PIT for this year, it is based off your annual income for last year. So the rates for calculating your PIT is dependent on, the annual taxable income. So we have the rates in the table. I'm not going to delve into it too much, but for the first 300,000, it's a 7% rate. For the next 300,000, 11%. For the next 500, 15%, and just like that. That's the rates. So yeah, so also on the PIT, personal income tax is paid by individuals in employment through the pay as you earn system, which is the payee system, using the rates that I just mentioned. And your employers are also required to deduct an account for personal income tax deducted from the employment income of their employees under the payee system by way of a return filed with the relevant tax authority on a monthly basis. However, employees who earn less than the national minimum wage, which is 70,000, are tax exempt. So for value-added tax, this is also another tax you should be aware of. It's basically a consumption tax, and it is chargeable on the supply of goods and services. And the rates at which the VAT is calculated is 7.5%. Registered businesses are required to charge or collect VAT on applicable goods and services, except there are certain items that you can't charge VAT on, which are plants and machinery for use in export processing zones or free trade zones. We have basic food items, medical products and services, pharmaceutical products, books, and educational materials. We also have the withholding tax, which is just another form of it's an advanced income tax, right? And you deduct this at source from certain payments made to suppliers of goods and services. The withholding tax rate is, it varies from 2% to 20%, depending on the transaction, right? So depending on the particular transaction, that would determine, the rates at which, the WHT will be calculated. So for example, for consultancy services, the WHT rate is 5% for resident companies and 10% for non-resident companies and individuals. Okay, moving on, another key compliance area that you have to be aware of are the statutory contributions you have to, make. So we have the employee compensation scheme. So all employers of labor are required to contribute at least 1% of their monthly payroll to the fund managed by the NSITF, which is the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. So we also have the ITF, and then every company with more than 25 employees or with an annual turnover of 50 million and above, they're required to, contribute 1% of their annual payroll to the fund. One important incentive with the ITF is that, an employer is entitled to a refund of 50% of the contributions it makes if it can provide or if it can show, adequate training courses are to the ITF. Then we have pension. So if you're an employer with at least 3 employees or more, you are required to participate in the contributory pension scheme. The minimum contribution is 18%, and the 18% is divided into 10% minimum contribution is to be paid by the employer and 8% by the employee. Employers are also required to obtain a group life insurance of up to 3 times an employee's annual emolument for their employees. So we also have the health insurance, which is another statutory contribution you have to be aware of. If you're an employer with more than 5 employees, you are required to obtain a state health insurance and make contributions at rates determined by the councils of the various state health insurance schemes. And then you have the National Housing Fund. So for the National Housing Fund, an employer is required to deduct 2.5% of the monthly salary of its employee as the employee's contribution to the National Housing Fund. But it's important to note that the National Housing Fund is not compulsory for the private sector employees. It's voluntary, and if you choose to comply, to be subject to it, you can do that. But it is mandatory for self-employed persons and for public sector employees. Now, the second classification, before we started talking on the key compliance areas, I said I was going to divide this broadly into 3 categories, which is the general compliance areas, which all businesses should comply with, which we have gone through. Then you have industry-specific regulations. This now has to do with the permits and licenses you have to obtain to be able to operate in a particular sector. For example, if you are going to be, if your business involves maybe the selling or the of, food items and drugs, that brings you under the purview of the NAFDAC, right? So you have to ensure that every product that you're selling, you're manufacturing, you have to ensure that it's registered with the NAFDAC. You have to ensure that you have the necessary, licensing and permits from the NAFDAC to be able to, provide that service, right? Now, the third categorization, the third classification would be foreign participation regulations. So in addition to the general the general compliance areas, as well as the industry-specific regulations, we have the foreign participation regulations. So this comes into play where you have foreigners in your company. So if you're a company and you have foreign shareholders, that's what we refer to as, having foreign participation. You are required to, there are additional compliance requirements that you have to satisfy, such as registration with the NIPC, which is Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, before you can, commence operations in Nigeria, before you can start business. Also, if you're a wholly owned, if the company is wholly owned by foreigners, the company will also be required to obtain a business permit from the Federal Ministry of Interior. And then in the instance where you intend to employ foreign employees or expats, right? Expatriates, you need to get an expatriate quota from the FMI, that's the Federal Ministry of Interior, before you can, employ these foreigners. So these are like the key compliance areas that you have to be aware of before, delving into your business, or as your business grows and expands. These are areas that you have to continually be aware of, to avoid fines and penalties. Now, we've gone through the key compliance areas that you have to be aware of. Now it's important to, highlight some of the practices that you can start implementing in your business to ensure that you stay compliant. So I think before we run, the most important thing that you have to know as a business owner, and one tool that will be really beneficial to you, is research, right? So it's important to understand the regulatory environment that you operate in. You have to understand the rules, you have to monitor the changes, and like this way it enables you, move with with the changing climate, the compliance climate. So as things are changing, you are aware, you are not caught off guard. So the first step is for you to identify your relevant compliance areas, basically conduct a risk assessment and analysis. You have to start by understanding the regulatory environment for your specific sector. You research the applicable laws, the licenses, and industry-specific standards that you are expected to comply with. By the time you analyze this, it kind of, shapes or helps you develop a clear policy and procedure that you can follow, and you can, codify it into your internal processes. Also, you have to, put systems in place to regularly review your operations and detect potential compliance breaches early. So you implement robust monitoring mechanisms. It's also beneficial to establish reporting and documentation processes. So by maintaining accurate and up-to-date records, up-to-date records, this will help support transparency and can protect your business during audits or investigations. It's also important to conduct regular training and awareness programs for your members of staff, employees, continually having ongoing education. This also helps you, stay compliant and ensure that, your employees as well are following compliance protocols. If possible, appoint compliance officers within your organization that can help oversee and manage compliance activities, checking that each department or each, sector, each team within your, your organization is, following the compliance protocols that you have put in place. And this will help you, promote accountability and ensure consistent attention to evolving requirements. Also, you need to stay updated on regulatory changes. Like I said earlier, research is one tool that you can't dispense with. So as the laws evolve, it's important to stay current. Regular research would help you track new laws, amendments, and it also give you insight into best practices that have been adopted by other organizations or businesses like yours that you can also implement in your own company, right? So also you need to remediate and continuously improve. So when you identify an issue, you address them quickly, and then you use those incidents as an opportunity to strengthen your compliance framework and, prepare, moving forward. As much as possible, leverage on outside expertise to review your processes. So engage your auditors, your consultants, your lawyers. They would help you, stay compliant. Um, and then also you need to emphasize executive oversight and accountability. You have to lead by example, right? So it flows from the top. If management is compliant, every other person within the organization would take that lead, and it builds a culture of compliance from the start, from top to bottom. Okay. So now that we have gone through the best practices, we'll just go through why compliance is important, right? So beyond, like we mentioned earlier, right, it shields your business from fines and penalties. But beyond shielding your business from, fines and penalties, staying compliant helps optimize your operations, right? As we mentioned, it's regulatory compliance is more than a legal requirement. It serves as the foundation for businesses to improve operational efficiency and secure a stronger position in a competitive market. So by optimizing business operations, basically, what this means, what this translates to is that it improves operational efficiency by aligning your business operations with established regulatory guidelines, helps eliminate redundancies, and it reduces the likelihood of costly errors. So it's this alignment fosters consistency across departments in the organization, enabling better coordination, streamlined workflows, and effective use of resources. And what this means is that labor, time, and capital are well managed. And then over time, this translates into measurable productivity gains, right? Another way it helps optimize business operations, the way we see it is, it enhances profitability. Compliance with legal and industry standard contributes to increased customer trust and satisfaction. Consumers and clients, investors, they are more likely to engage with companies that, demonstrate integrity and accountability. Clients, customers, investors, they are more drawn to, organizations that they know that are compliant, right? And what this translates to is that you see your customers coming back to you, and then it helps, build your brand. You have a stronger brand presence, and all of this boosts your revenue, right? And also, when you comply, you avoid fines, litigation, business disruption. So all the time and money you would have invested in paying fines or litigating a case, right, would be saved, and this would help preserve profitability. It also translates into greater resilience. By establishing strong internal controls, documentation practices, and training programs, as a company, become more agile and better prepared for audits, policy shifts, and crisis. Also, another reason why compliance is important is because it strengthens your market position. Regulatory compliance significantly enhances, a company's external image and competitiveness. It positions your business as a trustworthy and responsible entity, which can lead to increased customer loyalty, stronger partnerships, and better access to funding and contracts from investors. How regulatory compliance can strengthen your market position includes competitive differentiation. Basically, it makes your business stand out, especially in this climate that we see ourselves in this, in today's business environment. We see customers and partners, being selective about companies or businesses that they want to go into business with, right? So if you're a business or entity that demonstrates a strong compliance culture, you would see that you can use that as a selling point for your company, and that can give you the edge over your competitors in the market, right? It also improves public image. If you have a solid track record of regulatory compliance, it sends a strong message to the public and to your investors. right? That you operate ethically, responsibly, and with integrity. And companies that are known to comply with regulations are more likely to be featured positively in the media. It helps you attract talent, and it helps you build strong community relationships. And it also protects your company brand. Now that we've gone through the reasons for compliance, like the benefits of compliance, we go through the consequences of non-compliance. So now, um, non-compliance is not just a breach of rules, but is a risk to your organization's stability and credibility, right? Consequences of non-compliance can disrupt your operations, it will erode trust, and it can lead to significant legal and financial challenges. So one of the consequences of non-compliance are fines and penalties. So there is substantial monetary fines that your company would have to face if you are non-compliant with, laws that have been put in place. For example, failure to file your annual returns, like we mentioned earlier, it's a 5,000 naira fee penalty for each year of non-compliance. And that might seem small, but there are also stricter or more substantial monetary fines. For example, if you breach the NDPA, this is the Data Protection Act, that can attract up to 10 million naira or imprisonment in certain cases. As we were saying recently, the FCCPC fined Meta over $220 million for repeated data privacy and consumer rights violations under the FCCPA. So you can see why it's important to comply, to be regulate, to be compliant with the laws that have been put in place. Another consequence of non-compliance is legal liability. So deliberate or gross violations may result in civil lawsuits, personal liability for directors or officers of the company, and criminal prosecution in extreme cases. We also have loss of licenses. If you don't comply with regulatory standards that have been put in place to operate in certain specific industries, this can lead to you losing your license or permits, and in turn, that's going to disrupt your business because you will not be able to operate without your license or permit, which is bad for business. It can also lead to business closure or deregistration, just like the example we gave earlier with the annual returns. If you fail to file your annual returns for a period of more than 10 years, the CAC is going to strike your name off the book. And basically, you no longer recognized as a business, right? Also, we have damage to reputation. So non-compliance businesses often experience significant reputational harm due to negative media coverage and public scrutiny. These repercussions may include loss of consumer trust, negative media attention, and this can also taint the brand value of the business. Also, another consequence is business disruption. Just like I mentioned earlier, for instance, you need a license to, run or to provide certain services. If you're non-compliant with certain standards that have been put in place, you can see that would lead to loss of the permit, which eventually leads to business disruption. And for small companies, this can be devastating. As non-compliance can cause substantial disruptions to your daily operations. Now, in conclusion, regulatory compliance isn't just a legal requirement, it's a business advantage. Businesses that comply with relevant laws are more likely to build customer trust, attract investment, and expand sustainably. Although compliance may seem overwhelming at first, it becomes easier when you build it into your business from the start. So when it's ingrained in the structure of your business, you see that it becomes easier. By taking a proactive approach, that's from registering your business to following sector-specific rules, it will help you avoid regulatory pitfalls, and it will position your company, your business for long-term growth. Also, leveraging ongoing research to identify effective compliance strategies can streamline your processes, boost efficiency, and ensure your business remains resilient as regulations evolve. In doing so, you position your business for long-term success while upholding your commitment to ethical business practices. Remember, compliance is not just for big companies, it is for every serious business that wants to grow. Thank you. I hope you've been able to learn a few things from this presentation, and we'll start with the Q&A. I'm sure you have questions. So,
Wow, 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 wow. I think everyone can agree with me that this has been a very packed session. So so if you have your questions, please you can either use the raise an icon, or you use the chat box. You can drop your question in the chat box and Olivia will attend to them. So just before we get into the Q&A, there's a poll that's been launched on your screen. Please, this is very important. We'll be launching 2 polls. Please, it is very important that you please fill this poll, as this will go a long way in helping us serve you better. We'll be launching 2 polls. This is the first of the 2 polls that will be launched right now. So please, if you have your questions, you can use the raise hand icon, or you can use the chat box. Thank you. I noticed that there are some people that were asking if they can get the recording. So you can go to, for the benefit of all of us, you can go to our YouTube channel. Once the session is over, the recording will be on there for you to go back to at any point. And you can also go back to watch any of our sessions that you might have missed so far this year, so that you can learn a lot. So I have a hand raised up by Nancy. Nancy, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been so helpful. My question is, I have a registered business, but I haven't really made any money. And so I haven't done any tax returns. Does that, am I defaulting? And because I have some business that is coming, and then when I do want to make tax returns, maybe like from 2026, do I have to pay a fine when, I didn't actually do anything? So I registered the business and then I got a job. So it was dormant. Am I still defaulting? I just want to understand that. So I know whether to do it now or, not wait until the 5,000 is now piling into a lot of money. Thank you so much again.
all right. Thank you, Nancy, for your question. So I think one thing like I should mention is for your benefit and everyone here, you are required to make annual tax returns, whether you make money or you don't make money. So if you don't make money, you declare that no income was made on this year, but you're required to make your returns to the relevant tax authority. So regarding fines, they may or may not ask you to pay a fine. It really depends, right? They may ask you to pay a fine, or they might just let you go, but you have to file for the years that you didn't file for. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, for your question. So I have a question here, and it says, for a company that just got incorporated with CAC in the year 2024, with the year ending December of every year, when is the time to start filing annual returns of the business if it starts operation in the year 2025? There are 2 questions, and the second question, or would you answer that before I read out the second question?
Oh, I was muted. Okay, yes. So for the company that just got incorporated for 2024, as I mentioned during the presentation, you have 18 months from the date of incorporation for companies, and 15 months for business names. So you count if it was October 2024, you count 18 months after that. And then after 18 months, you'll be required to, make your annual return filings.
Okay. So for the second question, it says for a company that registered with CAC without starting or operations going on, when is the time to start filing annual returns? I think you've answered that, but
Yeah. So just like
yeah, so
the tax too, right? Even if you haven't started operations, you still have to file. You just, declare, the income that you made, as, zero. No, like business operations haven't really started, but you're required to file.
okay, so Mr. Amametu, I hope that answers your question. So Treasure is asking if you can simplify the regulatory compliance for small businesses that have been registered as a business name.
Okay. So for small businesses that have been registered as a business, the key compliance areas you have to be aware of. So first, the registration, which you have done as a business name. You're also required to file your annual returns. Also, if there are any changes in your business, you're also required to, constantly file that with the CAC as it arises. You're also required to, to remit your taxes, do your tax returns. You're also required to comply with that. And also the statutory contributions. So for example, capital gains tax, if you make a disposal on assets, you still be required to, remit the CGT, as well as withholding tax also.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Treasure. So Umo is asking, can we get a reliable FIRS staff to help with our annual filing and having FIRS certificates? Also, I registered my business in 2024. I've just started implementation this year. Can you suggest us a contact to ease with annual filing? And I wish to upgrade to LTD Limited. For Umu, I think Olivia will be dropping our contact details. So as long as you're from LSCTF, they would be able to attend to you and help with that. Olivia, am I right?
Yes. And then for the FRS, you can really you can walk into any of the FRS offices, and then I'm sure that there's someone that will be there to help with that. Just to clarify, because I don't know if I think I see that we're mixing the annual returns filing that you're supposed to make to the CAC with your maybe CIT or or any of your tax returns. So the annual return filings are to be made with the CAC, right? That's the Corporate Affairs Commission. So while the tax returns are with the FRS. For annual returns, if you're a company, you're supposed to make your annual returns 42 days after your annual general meeting. But if it's a business name, you have to do it on or before the 30th of June every year, just so that we're clear on that.
Okay. So Umu, I hope that answers your question. Nancy, you have your hand up, so please can you unmute to
I have
ask your
another
question?
question. Thank you so much. Olivia, my question is, so this other business that I registered is like a consulting firm. Now I'm in the middle of registering another business. It's a different sector. Do I need another tax identification number, or can I just use the same one? Because it's going to be defaulting on two places again and like extra money. Can that happen? Can I have one tax identification number for two separate CAC registered businesses? Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Nancy. So if you're registered as a company, the tax identification number is unique to that company. If you're going to set up another company, you're going to have to, that's a separate entity. So that entity is going to have a different tax identification number. But if you're registered as a business name now, right, and then you're providing these different business, carrying on this, businesses, so you have your consultancy and everything, right? You can still maintain one, TIN, one tax identification number, because it's seen as a sole proprietorship, right? So, and these are the different business outfits that you're carrying on. So that is fine. But if it's a company, different TINs for different companies. I hope that answers.
So Nancy, I hope that answers your question. Okay. So do
Yes,
we have
thank
any other question? So for those that have been asking how they can get the recording, I have dropped in the chat box the link to our YouTube channel, especially for this particular session. So you can go on there to rewatch this particular session, and also you would find the other sessions that we've held so far this year, so you don't miss out on any one of them, and you can also learn more from all of our sessions. So I have two hands up. Amametu, please, you can go ahead and unmute to ask your question.
Good afternoon, facilitator. Good afternoon, LSCTV staff. Appreciate your services rendered. Please, I want her to also clarify what you just said concerning the differences between filing returns on CAC and the FRS. Hello, did you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, she
Okay.
did. She's going to answer the question.
So for the annual returns that you filed with CAC, that's different from your tax returns. So your tax returns, that is the CIT, company's income tax, PIT for self-employed and employees, that's the personal income tax, the WHT, which is the withholding tax, CGT, capital gains tax. So basically all the tax returns that you're supposed to make to the FRS. Now, annual returns is a statement you make to the CAC, and it basically just informs the CAC of the company's or the business name's financial position. And that's the one that you have to file to the CAC.
Thank you very much. So for that of, yes, thank you very much. For that of FROS, I think it's 6 months, or I don't know whether I got you right. You were saying some months after incorporation.
Yes, so for your tax returns, there are timelines that you have to, take note of. So 6 months for companies, for the CIT, 6 months of you have to file your CIT within 6 months of the company's accounting year end. But if you're a new company, you can file this within 18 months from the date of incorporation, which is similar to the timeline for new companies for annual returns with the CAC, right? So you file within 18 months from the date of incorporation, or 6 months after that, whichever is earlier. 6 months after the end of your first accounting period. Hope that's clear.
So does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I have Treasure. Treasure has the hand raised. Please, can you unmute to ask your question? Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. So,
Good afternoon.
I'm looking at, you said there's company income tax and personal income tax. So as a business name, are we supposed to be company income tax or personal income tax? That's for question one. And secondly, if you have two businesses and you have just one CAC, and the CAC is registered as a business name because you're not certain yet if you're to improve it to an actual company, the businesses are not in the same sector, but they are you want to put them grossly under the same name. Is that possible? Because I think it would be harder to manage two different companies or two different tax thingy. Sorry, two different tax incomes or tax returns. Is it fine to make two entities, like to make one entity for different chains of businesses, or do you have to keep on creating several CACs or several businesses under like different entities? Yeah. So I think that's the second question. Yeah.
Okay. Just so let me go through you. So your first question was
CIT and the
The
PIT,
CIT and
which
PIT.
for a business name.
okay, yes. So for a business name, right, you're not paying the CIT. That's you don't have any business with the company's income tax. It's the personal income tax that you're required to pay because you're not a company, right? It's a business name, which is a sole
So
proprietorship,
yeah.
right? For your second question, if I get you correctly, right? So you're saying you have a business name, but like different, so you have different business names, but the same sole proprietor for different businesses, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you want to know, so in that situation, for the purpose of remitting your PIT, right? How you calculate it is you have to calculate all the incomes you get. So from all the businesses,
Okay.
it's compiled together, and then you make your returns, your PIT on the amount, depending on what it is.
Okay. Okay. So that means it's just one entity in the books of the nation, I guess. Yes? That means we're making it one entity. So under one CAC, under one tax return of businesses. Is that
No,
correct? Yeah.
no. So like for for CAC, right? Um,
Mhm.
if you have 5 business names, although you're the sole proprietor of all of them, they are registered as the 5 with the CAC, right? But for your tax returns to be able to compile like the total amount that the total amount that you would calculate your PIT on, you have to compile the income from all the businesses that you have. Even if you've registered 5 business names, the income from all 5 of them is what is going to be accumulated, and then you'll be able to calculate how much your PIT would be.
Yes. So like my question actually is for that CAC. We've figured out the tax income, the tax part, but for the CAC, can you have one registered business name to encompass the other outstretch? So it's like, I think it's the way they have corporations that have different outlets from that main business. Can there be something like that? Because it's more like just trying to manage everything in one rather than having 5 CACs or 5 registered business. Why not have one registered business that still carries or answers for all other businesses?
Okay, I get you. So you can do that, but one important thing is it's not every type of activity that you want to carry out that you can do with a
Mhm.
business name. In some instances, I think the best way for you to go would be to incorporate a company now. So a limited liability company, right? So you can either be private companies are easier set up. So you can incorporate a limited liability company and then have as your object. So in that situation, you can now have that one company carrying out different businesses as has been stated in its objects, right? As the objects of that company. So that way it helps manage and streamline. So in such situations, the best way to go would be to incorporate a company.
Okay, thank you. That
Yeah.
answers.
Okay. Okay. I think I have a question here that says, so Akindele Anna, please can you please clarify what you mean by school business? Oh, do you mean that you run a school? Okay. So Hannah is asking that she was told that schools don't file annual returns because of the kind of services they render. Please, can you explain this?
So for school businesses, if you're like, so if it's a school, you'll most likely be registered as an incorporated trustee, and they do have a form of, um, return that they make to the CAC. So while it's not the standard, annual returns that regular companies, render as an incorporated trustee, they also have returns that they make to the CAC too. Hope that clarifies.
So, Anna, please can you confirm if your question has been answered? Do you understand? Okay, so while we wait for Anna's answer, please, do we have any other question? Oh, okay. So Hannah is saying that she can't really understand your explanation. Please, if you can break it down more.
Okay. You said it's a school business, right? So so the common business form or entity form type that a school would take would be an incorporated trustee, which is also a type of business form you can register with the CAC. So we have private companies. So we have companies which are private or public companies limited by shares or guarantee. You have business names, which we see as the sole proprietorship. We also have incorporated trustees, which are not-for-profit organizations, right? So if you're registered as an incorporated trustee, which I assume would be the case for a school, right? You would have to what's it called? So even if you don't make annual returns, there are certain returns that you still have to make to the CAC. Is that clear?
So, Anna, please, do you understand? Anna, are you still on here or have you dropped off? So while we wait for Anna's response, okay. So okay, so Anna is asking what's the annual return.
So for example, incorporated trustees are required to, file biannual statements with the CAC. So every year, they're supposed to file a biannual statement made up to the 30th day of June for that year. That'll be the first filing you make, and then a second one that you make made up to the 31st day of December of the same year. So that's one of the that's one of the returns that you make. So it's not called an annual return like you would say for a company or a business name, but yeah, an annual statement, so to say. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think Anna is satisfied with our answer. So do we have any other questions, please? So while we wait for others to ask their questions, please, the poll is still up. You can please kindly help fill the poll. I have just 16 responses. So please, 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 please fill this poll. It's very, very important that we do. So I would like to believe that we all don't have questions for Olivia.
No.
Okay, so in the absence of any other questions, please can we appreciate Olivia in the chat box and tell her thank you. Olivia, we would like to appreciate you for taking out time of your busy schedule to take up this session. I am very sure that a whole lot of people on this session have learned a lot, given the questions that we've had people ask. So like I mentioned earlier, if you'd like a recording of this session, you can please go to our YouTube channel. I dropped earlier the link to rewatch this particular session. I'll be dropping again in the chat box. So you can please go click on the link for those that either came in late or those that would like to, go back to, refresh on what they've learned today so they don't miss out on anything. So you can go back as many times as you want to rewatch this session and also go through every other session that we have posted on our YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for taking our time from all of your busy schedules. So Olivia, would you like to please drop your contact details for anyone that would like to reach out needing legal service from your firm?
Yes, no problems. I'll drop it. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. So happy to
So
have, had this session.
we are so happy that you came to. Thank you so much. So please be on the lookout for Olivia's contact details in the chat box. So for those that might want to reach out after the session for further legal advice on their business. So thank you everyone for taking our time from your busy schedule to attend to this session. And thank you everyone. I can see all of the appreciation that you guys are dropping, both for Olivia and for the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Would also like to appreciate you. You also deserve our thank you for always taking our time to, attend all of these sessions. We understand that some of you have businesses, or if not all of you have businesses, or one thing or the other that you are doing, but we also appreciate the fact that you also want to learn more. And so therefore, that's the reason why you are decided to take out time from your busy schedules to attend our sessions. We appreciate you and we don't take you for granted. Thank you so much for always being here. So my name is Omotaya Akiome, the Business Support Officer for the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. And like I said when we started this session here at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, what we do is we look to provide access to finance and also the capacity building opportunities for business owners here in Lagos State. So you're a resident in Lagos, you're a business owner, you have an opportunity to benefit from all of our programs. Now, I believe that not everybody, not so for these sessions, for these our virtual sessions, we've had people not just from Lagos benefit, but we've also had people from outside of Lagos benefit from some of our virtual sessions. So um our virtual sessions are not just limited to Lagos residents. We've had people from Germany, we've had people from outside the country also plug into some of our sessions that we have here. So we appreciate you all. We provide, like I said earlier, we provide access to finance. We provide capacity building opportunities for Lagos residents here. We provide access to market opportunities. We also provide, so I think earlier I saw, so I know that one of the things that Olivia started with when she was speaking was the importance of having your businesses registered, that it really is very important as CAC are beginning to clamp down on businesses that are not registered. So we also provide free business registration for business owners here at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. So be on the lookout for our call for applications. So you can follow us on all our social media platforms so that when all of these opportunities come up, opportunities for business registration, opportunities for our MSME bootcamp. So when I started earlier, I dropped in the chat box the link to apply for our MSME bootcamp for those that are interested in participating in Ekpe and its environs, Ekpe and Ikorodu. So we are going next to Ekpe next month, that is in June, after which will be Ikorodu in July. So for those that want to participate and are in Ekpe and its environs, you're in Ikorodu and its environs, you can please, click on the link and apply to be a part of the MSME bootcamp. You don't want to miss out on all of this. These are some of the programs that have been packaged together to help you grow your businesses and also improve your business. So thank you so much, everyone. It's a pleasure to have had you here. And I'm looking forward to having you at our next session. We'll be having a mental health session later this month. to be coming up on the 18th of May, and we'll be having one of our partners take up this session. We'll be speaking to mental health as a business owner. So I know a lot of people, most times we feel that a lot of people run businesses these days and they feel that they are indestructible. So this you come to learn the importance of taking care of your mental health as a business owner. So apologies for that. So it will be coming up on the 21st of May. It will be coming up on the 21st of May. So I'll be dropping the link to register so you don't miss out on that session also, because it's very important. We can't really underestimate the importance of our mental health, especially these days when we have a whole lot going on. So as a business owner, you would not want to neglect your mental health, as it goes a long way in how you are able to effectively carry out your business. So please, I've dropped the link in the chat box. So for those that will be interested, so please click on the link. Thank you also to everyone that participated in our polls. We really appreciate you. We are looking forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you so much, Olivia, once again, and thank you everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Amataru.